The crazy thing for me is that he just skipped over an entire moment for Usopp and still carried the emotional weight and was able to basically revive Usopp's character arc in 2 pages. Like, how does he do that? No build up, no nothing. Like, obviously, he's relying on build up from before this arc, but like, literally, we didn't see Usopp go near Emu at all. And then, boom, he just shows up, has his whole speech, throws one of his pop greens, actually does damage. Like, Emu starts to disintegrate a little bit, which is crazy. And then, he gets destroyed, and then Luffy shows up. But it actually brings up an interesting thing because yeah, we got our Usopp moment, which ties into the live action. Everything seems to tie in perfectly. Like Chopper and Usopp got big moments this chapter, and the live action just came out last week. So I don't know. It's pretty on the nose. It's pretty cool though. The idea of Chopper having the ability to split the souls is kind of crazy with his little whack. I don't know. That's the power of Chopper's attack. It's like a flick of the wrist and dummy reverse is done. Like obviously there could be a few reasons for it. That he has a human fruit like Luffy. He could tie in somehow. I don't know. I actually have no theories on this. Like, obviously, Chopper has some relation to Blackbeard. Blackbeard was mentioned in Drum Island. He was mentioned in the live action as well. It was reiterated. So it could have something to do with that. We know Blackbeard's a devil fruit hunter fella. But, like, that's, like, very basic. I'm sure there's more theories based on what that ability could have been for Chopper. He could have just literally killed the guy in one shot and he came back to normal. That could have literally just been it. And it might have just been it, right? But it was pretty crazy. Like the chapter was quite quick. There wasn't too much to happen, but it set up like the final fights fairly easily. Right? They're all gonna be group fights by the looks of things. They're not gonna be individual fights this arc. Which has a very interesting idea because it's gonna give the power scale another shot, right? We're gonna have the villains be strong enough on their own, and then we're gonna have 2 or 3 people take them down, which is a very interesting idea because again, that comes back to Akainu versus Sabo and Luffy and stuff. You know, these characters who are too strong for one individual to take down, so they have to team up. Even with the Holy Knights, we got a whole squad of Straw Hats taking down 1 or 2 of them. That's pretty cool. That's going to lead to some cool combinations. We see them all getting involved, which is fantastic. We got our own little monster trio, as we saw in the last chapter, with Sanji, Jinbei, and Frankie. Love to see it. Obviously, we want to see Robin do some more stuff. Robin and Nami team up. Robin and Chopper team up. Robin and anybody team up. Man, I just want to see Robin do more stuff. Any excuse for that live action Robin to show up. But, nah, it's crazy. This chapter does basically set up a fight with Emu, which is cool. But I just don't see how Emu can lose here and have him still be a threat further on in the story. So I do think something else is gonna have to happen, like Marijoa. Something's gonna have to happen on Marijoa because there's no way Luffy and Loki can actually defeat Emu right now, and then boom, Blackbeard shows up. Like unless this arc is way longer and it's gonna involve Emu's final stand, which would be crazy if Emu goes down before the before the end of the series. Before they find the One Piece. I always assumed that there would be like a whole raid on Marijoa for Emu to go down. But if this is the big thing, if we get all this stuff in Elbath, it'd be crazy. Imagine if we're way closer to the Void Century flashback than we think we are. Like, think about that for a minute, right? Because like Emu as the final boss here is interesting. Like it feels like they're really setting that up. We're getting all the moments. We're getting Brook and everything. And obviously we're showing soul based. Like Brook is there. Brook could easily just split the souls that way, and that could be a loss for Emu without it actually being a physical loss, which is probably how it's gonna go. But it'd be interesting also if it's like Luffy's abilities allow him to separate Emu from his hosts, which might be an interesting take on it as well. There's a few different ways it could go. I don't think Loki's going to be involved in it. I think Loki is just, a powerhouse in general, and that's how he's going to be. Usopp might have something to do with it. I do like how Luffy and the squirrel are getting along. That is pretty chill. And Usopp is right next to the squirrel, so time for a power up. We'll have to wait and see. Imagine the squirrel chooses Usopp over Loki. That would be crazy. Actually, that'd be a funny gag. Like I was going on about potentially Loki. If Loki doesn't join the crew, he might have to die in order to make more sense for not let Luffy get rejected, I suppose. But imagine if it's just like he's so depressed because his little squirrel friend chose the long nosed straw hat over him, man. And to be honest with you, Loki hasn't reacted to Luffy's form that much. I thought he was going to react a lot more. He hasn't reacted that much at all, and I'm a little disappointed, man. He was going on about the Sun God so much, he hasn't even brought up the fact that Luffy is very clearly the Sun God. Now we only got mention of Nika here, outside of like the audience of Elbaf that saw Luffy protect them, right? So maybe this is the first time you heard it mentioned. We might get it in the next chapter. Loki reacting to the news, but I don't know. There's some really cool stuff going on though. I love how they're dealing with Usopp, man. The live action reignited my passion for this character. I know I've been talking about him before that. The last two videos were basically Usopp panic posts, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I had slightly lost faith, and then he brings it back in a single chapter. Like, how does he do that, It's actually crazy. And they set up for more stuff. And on top of that, the live action was incredible. I will do a long video on the live action at some stage. I'm just rewatching it at the minute, so I'm kind of waiting to do that later on. So it will come to pass at some stage. But I just don't know, because this arc feels like it could be another 2 years, but it also feels like he could just suddenly wrap it up in like 30 chapters. Because this whole Usopp thing, that could have been 2 chapters of build up and then him showing up to Imu and all this, or even like half a chapter of build up and then he shows up to Imu in the next chapter. Like, I feel like the build up section, the moments are just happening, and we might get the context later, or we'll just get told the context. Like, obviously he went towards Brook, right? So I feel like he's going to speed up the moments a little bit. So we might get out Elbaf this year, because it feels like all of a sudden we went from setting up the matchups to now, boom, final fight, begin. Right? And I know at this stage during Wano, for example, it was another like 50 chapters. We got Roof Piece and stuff. So we might be getting some of the craziest stuff yet, Elbaf Roof Piece, except it's Brook, Usopp, Loki, and Luffy. Bro, that's a crazy combination. And then maybe Haruden comes in at some stage. We do need them to kind of have a little fighting moment together. But I wonder. Now, you know what I did find interesting, right? Imu is fighting against the giants right now, and Imu is like normal person sized. Whereas all the major villains of the last few arcs have been like so much more taller than Luffy, from Kaido to Big Mom to even Moria, Whitebeard. The only one really is Doflamingo, but even he was taller than Luffy, right? So it's interesting how Imu isn't. So will Imu like mutate into this giant, massive, taller than everyone else in the verse monster at some stage during the actual final fight? Because that's what he's like, Oda's been going for a long time. Like this crazy villain that can't be defeated, that just is so big, so huge, so menacing. Whereas in this Gunko form, he's not really. Like, his speech is menacing, but him as a design is not. So I'm interested to see where it goes. Personally, I don't know. I'm very curious, and obviously we got to get this Brook flashback at some stage. Man, I'm telling you, I don't know what's gonna happen, but I am so intrigued. And if we get hints of this when Thriller Bark gets the live action, it's gonna go crazy. Like, this whole chapter basically just tells me that Oda plans out everything almost perfectly. This is the first chapter after the live action releases, and it focuses on Usopp and Chopper, man. He plans this out perfectly. Even with Shanks showing up to Wano was right before Film Red. Like, all this stuff is planned out, which is crazy. I know it might, to some people, it might seem very corporate, but it isn't. I still feel the magic of One Piece, even if that is a corporate decision. It is very interesting how he does it, and he does it pretty well. Yeah, Shanks showing up was a bit ham-fisted in Wano, but this is pretty well done. Like, this has been set up for a bit. We've all wanted this Usopp moment to happen, and it happened just as I was losing faith in him. So I'm very, very happy about this, to be honest. Personally, I don't know about you though.